What we will proceed to do is to try to be as responsive to all that are here, that you can do the congressional 1 minute so that these good folk that are here. But our action today is a solemn march, and I don't want to miss the opportunity for us to be able to come together. So please forgive me as I both introduce some who will speak and others who will not, but they will be acknowledged, and they are important aspects of our work. And then I will call on respective groups that are representing a wide variety of leadership. And I am grateful to them because they have come at the very last minute. And I am grateful to them for wanting to heed the call of Dr. King's oldest son. In his I Have a Dream speech, most of us will not remember these words. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. What that means is that 50 senators or 2 senators cannot take away your birthright. And so in this, he said, this note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, Hispanics and Asians, as I paraphrase, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people and others a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds, but we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. And so we are here with hope and faith. We are here refusing to give up and to give in and to give out. And so, as I invite you to come, realize that the Senate will start its debate on this coming Wednesday. Realize that the only crux of the debate and the reason why we're here today is because a concept called the filibuster has now been utilized to ensure the bankruptcy of justice. The filibuster is a rule, not the Constitution. And so we have faith that someone of either party will recognize that their duty is to ensure that we have justice. May I have come forward, and I'm looking for seniority at this point, and so let me call forward Representative Ron Reynolds, who will come at this time, and we are on a 1 minute time so that we can march, and I will yield accordingly. And so let me also acknowledge, and let me acknowledge Congressman Al Green, and he's being put to work. Thank you, District Director Rodriguez. We really appreciate you so very much. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and happy MLK Day. One of the quotes that I think we can all live by, where Dr. King once stated that life's most urgent and persistent question is, what are you doing for others? As we reflect on Dr. King's life and legacy, what are you doing for others? We have to pay it forward. We stand on his shoulders, and it's incumbent upon us to pay it forward for the next generation. Voting rights are at stake. So many of our civil liberties are at stake. And I'm asking you to join with us and fight. Speak truth to power. Get registered and vote. Thank you, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. And for all who are assembled here today, let's continue to press forward and pay it forward for the next generation. God bless you and God keep you. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Vice Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Houston, Aztec Tatum.
Black goddess, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Congresswoman, for assembling everyone here today. We cannot grow tired of teaching about democracy. Democracy is learned, and each and every one of us has a responsibility to teach someone else about the importance of democracy. We must call on the Senate to vote for our Voting Rights Act. And we as individuals must put pressure on the Senate to make sure that they are voting for each one of us to have the right to cast our vote. Give us the ballot. We can never, ever, ever get tired of fighting for democracy and our right to cast our ballots. We all deserve it, and we should all use it, and we will continue to fight and press and push until every single person has a right to access the ballot box. The vote is precious. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Representative Armando Wally. We're integrating council and people together.
Thank you. My name is Representative Armando Wally. I'm serving my 8th term, well, will be serving my 8th term in the Texas legislature out of the Aldine, North Houston, Greens Point community. And I want to thank Congresswoman. Before I got elected, actually, prior to working for Gene Green, I did work for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. And let me tell you this, that I learned a lot from Congresswoman. Her tenacity, her fight, her grit has always been about the people of the 18th Congressional District and Texas. And so I take that, those lessons I learned from her very, very seriously. What I'd want to say also is when those of us that broke quorum, because not all of us broke quorum, to go to Washington, D.C., to urge our members of Congress, both in the Senate and the House, to pass the Voting Rights Act, or a renewed Voting Rights Act, I thought about my grandfather, who at the time was alive at 91 years old, and he would tell us the stories as a brown man living in Texas, how he was treated, worse than a dog, how he was treated without being able to enter certain restrooms, about how he was treated, about the lack of educational opportunities for him. He was a union steel worker. He worked at Hughes Tools. He actually helped build this city. He helped build the Sidney Sherman Bridge. And when we were looking at pictures after his funeral, at pictures of him with no harness, welding at the top, at the apex of the Sidney Sherman Bridge, the Houston Ship Channel Bridge, I was reminded of the bridges that he built. The bridges that he built and the bridges that we need to continue to build with our black, brown, and other disenfranchised communities. Because Dr. King's struggle was all of our struggles. All of our struggles. And for me, when I got elected, I knew what I wanted to do is to continue his fight so that the life that he lived as a brown man in Texas, in the South, in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, that when I took my children to the Lincoln Memorial and put my son, my youngest son, Joaquin, at the foot of where Dr. King made his I Have a Dream speech, I wanted him and my other son, Armandito, not to relive those same atrocities that my grandfather and Dr. King and many others lived through. So I'm here in name of my grandfather, Armando Zamaripa, who died over the summer. I'm here in his memory because it would be morally reprehensible for me not to stand here with you, with my brothers and sisters, locking arms to fight for the right to vote. Thank you. God bless you. Que Dios los bendiga.
Congressmen and your senators, and you've got to go vote. And somebody said they're trying to stop our right to vote in Texas. With what Chris did, the Republican legislature stopped what he was doing and made it more difficult to vote. So the question is, if you want to know when Dr. King was back there, if you would be there, the question is, are you doing it now in 2022? My name is Johanna Jones, and we need you to fight with us for your kids and your grandkids. Thank you very much.
Danielle Best.
Hello, I am Danielle Keys Best, and I stand here as Martin Luther King's dream. I stand here as my ancestors' dream. They were pushed back by fire hoses. They were bitten by dogs. And I understand the sacrifice of their lives that was laid down for me to stand here, for us to stand here. As his dream, I will make sure that it is a dream that is not deferred. It will continue for us. It will continue for our children. And we will forever stand and we will forever fight for our civic duty and our right to vote. We must not give up. We must not tire. The time is nigh and the day has come for us to call on those who say that they represent us in the Senate and hold them accountable to the Constitution for which they claim they stand for. I am Danielle Best, Dr. King's dream, and you are his dream. Let us unify and march forward for our right. Thank you, Congresswoman.
Thank you so very much. I will be bringing up the Attorney General and the Lieutenant Governor, but I want now to bring the President of the NAACP, who has joined me in this, and to acknowledge and respect and honor the fact that Bishop Dixon, I wonder what has happened to West Virginia when the West Virginia left Virginia to avoid supporting slavery. And that is, of course, the Senate seat that is held now by Joe Manchin. The President of the NAACP, Bishop Dixon.
Good afternoon to all of you brothers and sisters. Good afternoon. All you brothers and sisters, for we are one family with one future. I am honored to stand here. I said we're one family with one future. We are one family with one future. We are one family with one future. Dr. King preached the message consistently that we are inextricably tied together, interwoven into the fabric of humanity. We will either learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Today, as we stand here, thank you, Congresswoman Lee, for your leadership, for your vision, and thank you all the leaders who are humble enough to come at the invitation of another leader. Today, we're in a state of crisis. In 1968, February 23rd, at Carnegie Hall, the 100th birthday of W.E.B. Du Bois was celebrated. Dr. King was the keynote speaker. It was the last of his major public addresses. In that speech, he challenged the audience to remain dissatisfied, radically dissatisfied. I've come today to say to us that if we're going to win this fight, we must elevate our level of dissatisfaction. We are still too calm. We're still too casual. We're still too modest. We must become radical with our dissatisfaction. Last week when we stood at Sci-Fi ISD, we expressed radical dissatisfaction. Over 150 people challenged the board. And as a result of that, the gentleman was fired from his job because his company understood that if they come like that at Sci-Fi ISD, they'll come after our company too. Come on, say radical dissatisfaction. We are still too calm, still too cute, and still too cool. That disposition has never won a war. If we don't understand where we are at war. And we must fight for the right to vote, fight for our freedom, fight for our progress, and fight for economic opportunity. We must be dissatisfied. Oh my God. Y'all are scaring me. The reason you're scaring me is because while we are being so oppressed, we're still too calm. We're still too calm. And we can't fight with an army that won't stand up. A general without a battle, without an army, is just all by him or herself. We've got to have people who will show up, stand up, speak up, protest, boycott, whatever it takes. It takes radical dissatisfaction. Are you not dissatisfied with the fact that the Harris County jails are filled with brown and black people who've been there for over 2 years without a trial? Are you dissatisfied with the fact that we re-traumatize people in prison and let them out on our community without an education or an opportunity? Are you dissatisfied that people's right to vote are being taken from us in 2022? You've got to be righteously and radically dissatisfied. So I'm closing on this because my brother said earlier right here, he said a revolutionary. The word revolutionary means that you're ready to cause a change. We're not waiting for a change. You have to cause the change. I want everybody here who's ready to cause the change to lift up your hand. Because parades don't cause change. It takes protest. It takes deciding where you are going to spend your time and where you're going to spend your money. Radical dissatisfaction, brothers and sisters. We would not be here today talking about Dr. King had he not been radically dissatisfied. To the point, listen to this, whatever you're not willing to die for, you won't fully live for. Whatever you're not willing to die for, you will not fully live for. You can't do this in your spare time. You got to make this your mission, your ambition, your goal, your aim. And I'm living for a day when we won't have to bark again, but right now, radical dissatisfaction. Say the words, radical dissatisfaction. Radical dissatisfaction. That means challenge anybody who stands in the way. I heard the Democrat politics, Congresswoman. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, white, or brown. If you're in the way of righteousness, you got to get out the way. We got to challenge everybody who's not doing the right thing, because justice is not a D-R and R. Justice is not a D-R and R. We got to challenge anybody who stands in the way of justice, because love is what justice looks like in public. God bless you. God bless you. Be radically dissatisfied.
That's a message we'll take back to Washington. We're getting ready to march. I want to acknowledge
8 years ago, under the leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others, Congress passed and the President signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And 57 years ago, under the leadership of Dr. King, Congress passed and the President signed the voting bill of 1965. And now we are fighting to gain back a lot that we gained some 50-some years ago. So there are two bills that are languishing in the United States Senate. These two bills, the Freedom to Vote and the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill, will help to remove a lot of the damage that's been done by legislatures across the United States. I agree the filibuster was used by Southern senators to keep anti-lynching bills from being passed, to keep bills prohibiting the poll tax, you name it. And now we've got senators that want to use the filibuster to keep these two bills from moving forward. That makes no sense. So we do need that radical dissatisfaction. I like that radical dissatisfaction. So let's do what we need to do. Let's march, let's fight, let's advocate, let's vote in order to bring these bills forward. Again, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, thank you for your leadership. This is one of those days where the King family didn't necessarily want the celebration, but I think we can do both. We can acknowledge and pay tribute to Dr. King, and then at the same time, we recognize that we are not at the promised land yet. So we can do both at the same time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Papa. Your turn, you tough black man. Glory, power.
We're going to ask for our time now to become solemn and extremely focused on a man called Martin, who stood on a bridge in Selma, and then stood on a balcony in Memphis. Each time he was jailed, whether it was Birmingham, where he wrote this momentous letter to those who would criticize him for being engaged with those who could not speak for himself. I commend you to read the most powerful words, a letter from a Birmingham jail. Dr. King at that time, if he could be a prophet for the future, would think that a time that he could not imagine, into the 21st century, 93 years old he would have been. He would have probably thought he would be in a rocking chair. God had blessed him, watching the success of America pass before his eyes. Throngs of voters, people speaking about the beloved community, hand in hand together. Bishop Dixon, he would have thought that he had skipped over and it had already taken place, that his radical dissatisfaction would have carried him and carried others, but he would have thought maybe in this year he would be able to sit quietly. I'm saddened to say that America is not listening. And I'm also saddened to say that we have many things to do. This is no critique. This is no criticism of all the hard-working people. They've just got to get up to work, or they've got to pay a bill. And I'm begging you today to take a moment on your social media, to call a cousin or a relative in other states, that if they cannot get to Washington, to stand on a day on Wednesday. Somebody asked, why are you standing? Why are you standing in front of a courthouse, in front of a building? Tell them you're trying to make sure that Washington does what it is supposed to do. You're trying to make sure that those persons, R or D, or whatever political affiliation they have, will walk a mile in the shoes that Dr. King marched. That they will understand what the march from Selma to Montgomery really was. They'll understand about the words, we shall overcome, that we are still singing today. We shall overcome, in the moral arc of justice. Moral arc of the universe bends long toward justice.
It's too long.
Dr. King's song that he loved so much, that we will now listen to as we begin to formulate. Those on the stage are at the front of the line. We ask those who are here. You know, it does not have to be thousands. Where two or three are gathered, there is power. And so we hope that you all will, in a COVID distance, follow us around this block. We hope that you will be somber and thinking. Maybe you will think about your yet unborn grandchild. And you will wonder, if Dr. King was here, would he say, shake his head and hold it down and just ask, what have we become? Why are we here today? Why is it that we walk the same walk? But maybe he would say, in the gracious words that have been told to us, maybe he would say, you know what? They haven't forgotten. They're still holding on to my dream. There are those who want to destroy it, but look at the few. They look like the mighty to me. So I just want to, as I close, lift up this letter that I wrote to Senator Manchin. It was a private letter of 5 pages. I poured my heart into this letter. Told him about Texas, about our redistricting. I told him about the voters. I told him about what it meant for people of color to have the right to vote. Told him about Barbara Jordan, who included the state of Texas. I went on to talk about the fight for liberty and equality did not end with the Civil War or Reconstruction. It still goes today. And as I said earlier, I told them that elections are not about candidates. They're not about public elected officials. They're about you. It's about whether you go and cast your vote unfettered, unstopped, that your mail ballot is not thrown out, that you can go to a drive-in place and vote legally that you can come at 12 midnight and cast your vote. I'm hoping, Senator Manchin, that you will read this. Your office said that you had it. I'm hoping that you will take time to walk a mile in the shoes of Dr. Martin Luther King. And as we go to come to this somber moment, I'm going to ask a beautiful voice. Dr. King at 93 would have wanted to hear you, Cedric. He would have wanted to hear you sing a song that he has loved and that has guided so many of us and given us strength. I'm delighted now to present still the Minister of Music at the Community of Faith, always and forever. Shout his name out, Brother Bishop Dixon. I don't want to shortchange you. You know how pastors are. And then we'll have a prayer from Pastor Morrison as we are going down to get organized and pray that we are organized in the name of, for all of us, justice and whatever your faith is. Let me acknowledge you, or you. Let me say the Houston Society for Change. I'm on Carl Davis will not let you forget that. And I thank you so very much. But Professor Dr. Cedric Ballard, Minister of Music, would you give us the somber spirit in which we move forward? Can I have individuals come and get these materials for me, please, so that I am not responsible for them?
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand, I am tired. I am weak. I am worn through the storms, through the night. Lead me on to the light. Please, Jesus, take my hand. Precious Lord, and lead me home. And we sing, we shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday.
Would you just continue that just one more as we, can you get behind the mayor and myself? We're beginning to march. Those of you who will join us, you'll be organized by our organizers, and we ask that you walk with us. Will you walk with us? We ask that you walk with us, please.
Don't talk,
Thank you. Cedric, will you go off, please?
Oh, deep
on to the right.
I still believe Watch out, baby. Watch out, man.